All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about slope. We talked a little bit about slope before Christmas, and then again the last couple of weeks with systems of equations when we graphed them. But today we're going to look at finding the slope of a line when you have the graph or 2 points on the line. And when we say slope, we really mean how steep the line is. So the closer a line is to being a vertical line, the larger the slope is going to be because that line is more steep. And the closer the line is to being horizontal, the slope is going to be closer to 0. All right, there are 4 types of slope. If your line is going uphill, it's pointing up and to the right, then it has a positive slope. So your slope is going to be positive. When your line is going downhill, it's pointing down toward the right, the slope is negative. If your line is horizontal, then the slope is 0. And if you have a vertical line, then the slope is undefined. Those are 4 very important things that you need to know. All right, if you're given a graph, you can find the slope by counting the rise over run. I know you've heard before that slope is rise over run. So let's look here at this example. If I wanted to count the slope using the graph, first look, you see how the line is pointing down and to the right? So I know my slope is going to be negative. So I'm going to start here at this first point, and I'm going to count down. It goes down 1, 2, 3 spaces before going over 1, 2 spaces to get to the next point on the line. So my slope is negative 3 over 2. All right, this you already know. When you're finding the slope from an equation, it's easiest to find if it is in slope-intercept form. In a couple of days, we're going to talk about another form called point-slope, but right now just focus on slope-intercept. And slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Your m, the coefficient with your x, is your slope, and this b is your y-intercept. All right, look at these 3 problems. Pause the video for a second and figure out what the slope is. All right, now that you've had time to figure out the slope, let's look at number 1. All right, when finding slope from an equation, I'm just simply looking for the number that's in front of the x. In number 1, my slope is 4. And if you were going to graph this, I would write that as a fraction. Remember, you write a whole number as a fraction by putting it over 1, so the slope would be 4 over 1. Number 2, I don't have a number in front of my x, but I know that anytime a variable doesn't have a coefficient, then it's understood that there's a 1 there. So on number 2, the slope is 1. And number 3 has a slope of 1/2. Again, that's really easy. Just look for the number that's in front of your x variable. All right, here's the formula. If you're given 2 points, you always want to label your points. The first point you're given, call it x1, y1, just because it's the first point. And then the second point, call it x2, y2, because it's the second point you've been given. But the formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Pause the video and write that down. All right, here's an example. If I give you the points 1, 1, and 4, negative 1, and tell you to find the slope, the first thing you should do is label the points. We're going to call this x1, y1, and x2, y2. I know that's a little extra step to write, but it's going to help you in filling in your formula. Okay, so now let's fill in the formula. We know that it's y2 minus y1. So y2 is negative 1. I'm just going to bring it down there. Minus y1 is 1. So I have negative 1 minus 1. x2 minus x1. 4 minus 1. All right, once you get to this part right here, then you just solve it. Use your integer rules. I told you not to forget those. All right, so negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So the slope, or m, is equal to negative 2 over 3. Here's another example. We have the points 1, 2, and 3, 5. Here's our formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're going to call the first point x1, y1, and the second point x2, y2. So if I substitute those values in, I have 5 minus 2 over 3 minus 1 right here. And then you just solve. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. So the slope of these 2 points, or the slope of the line with these 2 points, is 3 over 2.